a really strong level of context before you've even opened your mouth. Now, an amazing hack for this is that on LinkedIn or Instagram, you can already see the people that you have in common. You can see the thought leaders that both of you are following. You can see the mutual contacts on LinkedIn that both of you know. Do some digging to see if you've got those mutual contacts and mutual brands in common. The key here is that you need 3, 4, or 5 of these contextual markers to say something about you before you've even opened your mouth. Put some thought into this. Do you know, the one thing I've noticed is that entry-level entrepreneurs almost never think about the context and setting the right scene, and yet the wealthy and the rich people that I know, they put a lot of thought into this stuff. Principle number 3 for selling to rich people is the concept called land and expand. The way that you sell to rich people is by doing something upfront that is free, that creates proof, then reviewing it, and then expanding, and then reviewing it and expanding. You don't get to do big deals before you've proven yourself on small deals. You prove that you're trustworthy in a small way, and then you get invited to do big stuff in a big way. But there's a little technique that really changes everything. Let me explain. Okay, so with the land and expand framework, the first thing you need to do is generate proof. You've got to prove that you're valuable. The best way to do proof is through education or research. Education is where you go in and you share insights that are very, very valuable that the rich person didn't know existed. Research is where you go in, collect data or information that the rich person didn't have access to. You consolidate that and you share with them some key insights. So in this proof phase, we're going to do some research, we're going to find some insights, and we're going to share that totally freely. The other thing that you could do is a short little sprint, some sort of small project where you're building chemistry just by getting started. So for example, let's say you're a fitness trainer and you meet a rich person who says that they want to lose some weight. You might say, let's just go for a run together. Let's just get out there and do something together. Let me take you to the gym and let's go and do a workout together. Now, what you're doing is you're saying, let's just build some chemistry. Let's build some proof. Let's see if we work well together. You're not going to put any barriers in the way. You're not going to say, let's have a contract. Let's pay some money just yet. We're going to park all of that to the side and just start doing something together. The key here is start the ball rolling with as minimal amount of friction as possible to create some proof. Now, once you've created proof, I want you to be the one to suggest a review process. I want you to figure out how to present your data, your research, or your insights in a written format. Now, what I want you to do is figure out how to put it on a spreadsheet, how to put it on a slide deck, and I want you to print it out and give it to the rich person. I want you to say, here's what we discovered, here's what we found, here's what we did, here's what we should do next. But the key here is it's got to be written and printed. I want you to have a printed out document. The big mistake that many of you make is thinking that people have amazing memories or that they have a lot of headspace. A rich person does not have a lot of headspace. It needs to be printed out, it needs to be visual. Did you know that 50% of the human brain is dedicated to visual processing? If you don't make it visual, there's 50% chance people won't take it in. The other reason you got to make it visual is rich people make decisions with other people in mind. A rich person has an executive assistant who needs to see what's going on. A rich person might have a financial advisor. A rich person might have another key decision maker, maybe a spouse who gets involved in their decisions. You need to give them something that they can then share with those other decision makers to make making that decision a complete no-brainer. Put the thought in and create something visual that can be that review process that they can share. Okay, if you do this correctly, they are going to say, let's propose a deal. And what you might do is say, I'd love to work with you. What do you think the deal should look like? Now, here's the cool thing. Rich people are really good at constructing deals, and it's very, very cool to let them suggest the deal. You can even say, I've got an idea as to what a deal might look like, but I'd love to know if we work together, what do you want that to look like? Or have you got an idea as to how it would look like? Is there a preferred way you would want to work with someone like myself? The reason this works so well is half the time they're going to suggest something that is way bigger than you had in mind. And the other half of the time, they're going to suggest something smaller. But if that's what they're comfortable with at this phase, that's where you need to go next. Now, if you're lucky, they're going to explain a big deal. They're going to say, hey, let's work on this. Let's work on these parameters. You might even ask them the question, what's the price point? What's the budget that you feel comfortable with? You might say, if I was to work with someone like yourself, we would typically budget around X or Y. Is that the typical scenario that would work with you? The power of putting it into their court is that they have a lot more experience in their world than you do, obviously, and they're going to have price points that they have in mind. They're going to have budgets that they typically work with. They're going to have performance targets that they might typically feel comfortable with. And if you put the ball in their court, it's often the case that the deal that they suggest is way better than the deal that you would come up with. You should always have a fallback position. You should always have a deal that you've put thought into that you can suggest on the spot. So if they say, I'm not sure, how do you think it should look? You say, well, here's what I'm thinking, right? You can present that and once again, present it in a written document that is printed out, that is ready to share. Now, here's the little secret. The one thing that rich people like to do is constantly test to see if you're trustworthy and whether you deliver results. So you've done something for free and that created proof. Excellent. Now you're going to do something, let's call it 10 grand, 20 grand, 100 grand, and that's going to deliver even more proof. Once again, you're going to do a review process. And here is the absolutely most powerful tactical thing that you can do at this point. Once you've delivered the second great result that you got paid for, this is where you can say, the truth is that I'm getting busy, I'm oversubscribed, my focus is getting split between other projects. You can actually name a constraint, and at this point you can say, I'm not sure, do you think I should double down working with you, or do you think it's time that we part ways? So the powerful technique here is that after you've delivered two powerful proof projects, you can say, I'm getting busy, I've got other things going on. Do you think it's time that we double down and work on some bigger things together? Or do you think it's time that we call it a day and part ways on really good terms? Now, most rich people will say, what are you talking about, part ways? I want to do way bigger stuff with you. I really want to expand what we can do. So you can now suggest, here's some big projects that we could work together. During the process of doing a few things together, you've already started to understand this person's world better. You understand where they travel, where their interests are, and this is where you can suggest some big deals. This is where you could say, what I'd love to do is I'd love to do some bigger deals with you. The reason I've been working closely with you up until this point is to build trust with you so that we can do some bigger deals together. Do you have anything in mind? Right? And this is where you're going to try and open up to the really big deals, because the truth is that the big deals is where you make the big money with a rich person. The small deals are just building proof and trust. So the purpose of getting to this point was to get to the big deal. Now, here's another interesting thing. Rich people love to make recommendations to other rich people. And at this point, you may say, do you know of any big deals that are going on in your network that I should be pitching for, that I should be putting myself forward for? Now, that's a powerful question, because at this particular moment, your current person that you're working with may not have a big deal, but they might know 3 or 4 people who do have a big deal. And that's really powerful as well. The big deal that you get access to may not be the same person. It might be someone that they can introduce you to. But the key insight here is that we're going through a process of land and expand through the process of creating proof and then reviewing it in a written document, creating more proof, reviewing it in a written document, and then suggesting that big deal. Okay, so we've covered 3 things here, and those 3 things are how you work with rich people. I hope you found that really, really interesting. I don't want you to click onto the next piece of content. I want you to think about, how are you going to improve your pitch? How are you going to improve the context of how you show up in the world? And how are you going to build a journey where you land and expand so that you can work on bigger and bigger deals? There is so much money out there. The world is just full of money. There's more money on the planet than ever before,